Okay, I mean it's up, but it's not on the feed.
Should we just cancel the show today?
Right?
All right.
Yeah.
We're live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Fumble Live. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you do that now. We always have the sports news, including some pretty crazy news about the Rockets coming up in just a second. So subscribe, tap the bell, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment below, and share this video with your friends. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
What's up, everybody? It's Jackie Ray. You can follow me everywhere at JRay the Fanatic.
Hey guys, it's your girl Britt Johnson. You guys can follow me on all social media at @IamBrittJohnson. It's been a morning, okay? It's been a morning.
It's been a morning. For all of us. We've all had a bit of a rough morning. Not quite. One day away, and I'm so excited about it. But you guys, sorry that we were starting a little bit late today. We had some technical issues. There's been a lot happening. It seems like the computer gods are working against us, or the internet gods are working against us today. But we are here. We're live. So let's get into the news. This first story has a lot of details. There's a lot of twists and turns. So get ready, you guys. As we've been talking about, Westbrook is ready to be on the move. He wants to leave the team. That's all according to The Athletic. So this comes on the heels of the news we shared yesterday about both Russ and James Harden being upset with the team's management and the future of the Rockets franchise. There are conflicting reports about where James Harden stands. One source says he's already locked in on next season. He's committed to sticking with the Rockets, while another claims that he's been ghosting calls from the team's management for 2 weeks now, so he hasn't picked up a phone call. So Kendrick Perkins said that he has not been answering the phone for ownership or the front office for about 2 weeks. Apparently, he's been frustrated that he hasn't been a part of any of the front office's decision-making process, especially when it comes down to that head coaching position. James and Russ really wanted to see Ty Lue in that role, but Ty ended up going to the Clippers, obviously. We talked about that. So the Rockets did reportedly consult both of the superstars, but ultimately their desires were not met, so they were upset about that. Stephen A. Smith also says that James and Russ don't want to play together anymore. They're over it, so that's another thing to consider. So now Russ is requesting a trade, and James could be next, but they are not the only one who are feeling frustrated. In fact, in that article by The Athletic, there is a long list of players who are unhappy. So obviously Westbrook wants out. PJ Tucker is irate over contract. Eric Gordon, Daniel House, and Austin Rivers are dissatisfied with their roles. Austin Rivers apparently doesn't like playing with James Harden, describing Houston as being problematic. The season has been described as a mess, which is never what you want to hear about your team. So Britt, going to you first, what do you anticipate happening with the Rockets? Do you think there could be a much needed culture shift with the new head coach, GM, and some new players?
Funny word, culture. I will be talking about some culture situations with Houston in Britt's take today, but obviously it's crazy because, I mean, the Rockets did get rid of the pieces that they needed to get rid of in their head coach and in their GM, and yet there's still these issues there. So it is confusing why the players don't really sorry, there's like a crazy echo and it's making me like hard to talk.
Let me mute this. Maybe it's
Oh, hello? Oh, much better. Yes. Okay. So there's just like this weird kind of moment because they did get rid of their GM and their head coach. So you would have thought that like maybe the players would give this season a chance because now they have new people in there, but they still feel like it's like not worth it and they don't want to throw away the season. And so they want to go elsewhere. I already knew Eric Gordon had issues with the Rockets and wanted to leave. He honestly had issues with his last team too when he was with the Pelicans and stuff like that. So it is kind of hard to find out where he goes because he is, you know, he was a top 10 draft pick. He was drafted to my Clippers originally, and then he kind of got injured and was injury prone for so many years, but his talent wise, like he is a star talent wise, but he just can't stay in the lineup for a complete season. So I get why he's frustrated, but I think that's more on himself than where he fits necessarily with the Rockets. I love the Russell Westbrook coming to the Clippers. Obviously, if he wanted Ty Lue to be the coach anyway, that's perfect. You can come to the Clippers and Ty Lue will be your coach. And honestly, I think so badly we've wanted to see James Harden and Russell Westbrook work. They wanted to see each other work. They're both from LA. Like, they both grew up playing together as well. And they both played together in OKC. And then they thought, okay, we almost did it in OKC. Or actually, James Harden wasn't on that team when they actually really, really did it. But like the situation that happened with him getting traded and all of that kind of stuff. And then now they meet again in Houston, and they really thought they could be on a run in that area or again, but now in Houston, and then it just didn't work out again. I just think that they just don't mesh well together. You think it would be good because they both can play the 1 and 2 really well, but it's like confusing too when you're trying to build a roster and who's going to be that consistent 1, who's going to be that consistent 2, and then you have Eric Gordon like, hey, but what about me? I can play that position too. Like, so I think it's just like it was a mess in Houston, and clearly they don't think it's salvageable with a new head coach and with their assistant GM moving up to GM. So I just think that you just wash your hands of a lot of these players. I think Eric Gordon's on his last year of his contract because I believe he signed a 4-year deal, and this would be his last year anyway. Get rid of Eric Gordon. I think he's only owed about $14 million for the season. And PJ Tucker, I get why he is upset because he was playing a center at 6'5", so he's not comfortable in that position this last season. So I get the frustration with the players, but it is kind of crazy that they don't believe that there's anything that they can salvage there.
Yeah, I mean, there been a whole experiment with the small ball and all of that. But now with the two guys who are kind of like fronting all of that out of there could be a huge opportunity to change things around and get that culture shift, like we mentioned. But maybe it's just too far gone at this point. Jackie, is there anything that you think James Harden specifically can do to assess the situation and figure out how to change it as a player and as a leader? Like, is he the common denominator here, and does he have a responsibility to make changes?
So I don't consider James Harden a leader. I just don't. He's not the type of guy to rally the troops. He's not the type of guy to kind of bring everyone together. He's not that guy, which is why I am kind of surprised that him and Russell just don't mesh well together. Because if you know anything about Russ, there's been several times when he was in OKC and he would do his post-game interviews, and some of his teammates weren't up to par, and they would call them out. And Russ is that guy. He's like, no, we move as a team. We are a team. He's not going to let you talk bad about his teammates. He's not that guy. He is definitely the guy that kind of brings everyone together. So he's more of a leader than James Harden is in that aspect. And I agree with Britt. They both play the 1 and 2 really well. And I think that, coaching wise, they could have been coached to be a dynamic duo, and it just didn't happen for whatever reason. So James Harden would have to really, I always think, I think Gary in the chat said that Ty Lue's not a coach. I agree with that. I always think when players are clamoring for a guy like Ty Lue, it's not because they want to be coached well, it's because they want to run the team. And I think you really kind of need a really good coach when you have two superstars like James Harden, like Russell Westbrook. You need somebody in there to really kind of to make it make sense. And so James Harden would have to really decide what he wants his role to be. Does he want to be that guy that's breaking every single statistic record of all time, or does he want to be the guy that can get everyone involved and realize that they're kind of lacking now at the head coach position, so he does have to step up and make his teammates better? I've never seen that side of James Harden, so I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. So if he wants to stay in Houston, he has to not only rally around his players, he has to make them believe in the coaching staff so they can all have good communication and gel well and move forward. But I don't know James Harden to be that guy. So I guess start there. If you really do want to stay in Houston, you have to start there.
Well, we'll certainly see what happens. Things right now definitely feel very tumultuous with Gets. There's doesn't seem any clear-cut answer, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So it'll be interesting to watch what happens with them, especially over the next couple weeks. Now let's get into some updates about the Lakers. So the Lakers will not allow fans in the stands for home games in the 2020-2021 season, at least for now. They cited guidance from state and local health officials. In making this decision, the club said that it'll celebrate the raising of the 2019-2020 championship banner with fans at Staples Center when it's safe to do so. So who knows when that'll be. I personally feel, of course, it's sitting as a fan of the Lakers to know that we're not going to be able to go and sit in the stands, but I think that this was absolutely the right call. We're seeing COVID case numbers grow higher and higher every single day. So I think that it wouldn't be the smartest idea to allow fans into the stands right now, but it does suck. I'll be the first to admit that. So Jackie, as a fan of the Lakers, as somebody who frequented games last season when we could, how does this make you feel, and what's your reaction to it?
I mean, I'm annoyed. I understand the science of it. I understand that, I think Texas hit like 1 million cases, which is unheard of. There's some countries that don't have 1 million cases, but Texas does. So I understand, the need to be safe in that aspect. I'm not sure. I don't understand having it in the stadiums or in the arenas if you're not going to have fans in the stands, though, because the thing that made the bubble work to me is because it is smaller. So, yeah, there's no fans in the stands in the bubble, but now when you have these people on the screens or whatever, it gives an illusion. So it makes it mentally work. But when you're talking about the Staples Center, first of all, just logistically, it doesn't make sense because you got to open the Staples Center. You have to have staff there to open it. You have to have staff there to secure it. The electricity bill for that big stadium that no one's going to be in, it doesn't make a lick of sense to me. So are we going to have this at our practice facilities? Or if we're having it in Staples Center, it just makes no sense to me. You should have some fans in the stands if you're going to have it in Staples Center. Make them spread out far and wide. It's big enough to have them spread out safely, you know what I mean? And if you're not doing that, then why open that giant facility? It doesn't logistically make sense to me. So I don't know. I'm annoyed by the whole thing. I understand it, but I'm annoyed by it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the article said anything about if they are going to be holding the games at the practice facilities, but that seems like it could be a decent solution to those issues that you mentioned. Because, yeah, the Staples Center is huge, so huge. I don't know what they're going to do. Yeah,
and then you still have to pay the police department to come out, even if there's no fans in the stands. You still have to pay the police department to come out and secure the area because Laker fans are going to try to sneak in. I might actually help a few just to see if they succeed. They're going to try to sneak in, so you have to have police there to secure it. That is a lot of money going out to protect a facility where nobody is at. I'm not
Jackie,
with that. I'm not with that.
You said you're gonna help people sneak in. Let's be real. You're gonna be the one sneaking in.
No, I'm gonna help people, and if they get in successfully, then I might go in after them. But no, I'll probably help. I'll facilitate it, but I'm not. I got bail money for other things, not for sneaking into Laker games. That's not what that bail money is for.
Okay. Britt, my second question, should the NBA make league-wide rules about fans to keep everyone safe, or is the only reasonable option to allow teams and arenas to decide for themselves?
It is confusing because obviously we do know for basketball there are fans that are way closer than they are technically for football, so if there are going to be stadiums that have fans sitting courtside or even in those first couple rows, they're relatively close to the court. So if, say, the Lakers are going to another team, like whatever, say Utah has fans in the stands, and they're going to Utah and playing, like that's not protecting then the Lakers players who have decided to not have fans in the stands. So like what actually are you doing in this moment, and then they come back to LA and then they're going to spread it to their friends and family and so on and so forth. So I think I wasn't a big fan of like the NFL doing, like I think it should have been an all or nothing thing. Either everybody's going to have fans in the stands or nobody is. But I'm with Jackie on the fact of the what is the point of having it in these, especially considering you guys wanted to start back early because you guys were missing out on so much money, but now you're going to pay so much money in order to have these stadiums and these games in these arenas that are going to cost you guys so much money, and you're not going to be bringing any revenue in because there's nobody at the games. So I don't know. I think it's just like weird. And happens now because everything's rushed and we still don't even know like what's going on. We still don't even have a release of like the schedules, like who's playing who, like what games are happening when, and yada yada, and like what stadiums are going to have fans in the stands and which ones aren't, like, and none of that is thought of. And if a team does have fans in the stands, when they come back to wherever they are they going to be in a state where you have to quarantine and stuff like that? Because we talked about that with the Pac-12. The reason why the Pac-12 didn't start at the time that the other football seasons were starting was because they had places like New Mexico, who if you were coming in or out of New Mexico, you had to quarantine for 14 days. So teams couldn't travel to New Mexico to play New Mexico State. So like they didn't have anybody that was able to come in or come out. So they decided just to push the season back. So are we going to have situations like that come around? Like LA is 2 seconds away from shutting down again. Like the Bay Area has already decided to shut a million more things, which guess what? We have Golden State up there. Sacramento's close to there too. And then in Southern California, we have the Lakers and the Clippers. And like, we're literally about to shut down. San Diego's shutting down a bunch of stuff. My sister lives in San Diego. I was just talking about it yesterday. Like on Friday, they're shutting down a bunch more things. LA is right around the corner from doing the same thing. So what are our rules going to be? Will our teams be allowed to travel and then be able to come back and not have to quarantine for 14 days or do this, that, and the third? Because that's what's other states are doing. Like you still can't even go into Hawaii without quarantining for 14 days. Luckily, we don't have any NBA teams there, but you know what I mean? Like there's different rules in different places, and how is that going to affect the schedule and these teams and whatever? It's just like everything's so up in the air still. It's really confusing to even understand how we're going to come up with a schedule for the season and what is that going to look like and what's that going to mean for all the players.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, and I can feel it on. Oh wow, I have a bad echo now too. I don't know what that's all about, but I can feel LA being on the brink of a shutdown too. They just closed down the gym in my apartment building, which has been open for the last few months. This is just the start of it, and the ball is going to get rolling very quickly. I think that to avoid any issues, they'd be better off just making league-wide rules about fans just to keep everyone safe. I think that seems like the logical option, even though they'll lose money in ticket sales. I think that right now the focus needs to be on player health. On that note, that wraps up Need to Know News. Jackie, can you lighten things up a little bit and take us into the post?
Yes, let's go into Post Up Echo Edition, because that's all I'm hearing right now. All I heard was Post Up, so I'm assuming it's time. Real quick, shout out to all the Scorpios. If you're a Scorpio in the chat, happy birthday to you, because today is Russell Westbrook's birthday. Happy birthday to him. He's 32 years old today. I'm pretty excited for him. And he is obviously chilling on his birthday. He has no stress about this trade request that he made or the $130 million per season on his contract. It's going to make it difficult to trade him, but he's enjoying his birthday. Well, this was a pregame for him on his this Instagram post. I want to show you this real quick. He's just chilling. He doesn't look like he's stressed about anything at all. I love this. Look at Devin. Devin, Russell just gave you a toast and you barely even noticed it. How you barely even noticed it? There you go.
Has he been kissing his boo thing? Because he got lipstick on his lips, it looks like. I think
that was a little lip gloss.
Yeah, he's just been getting some smooches from Nina.
Yeah, maybe she ready to get out of Houston too, and she's like, "Baby, come here. Let me kiss you before you drink. Before I pour you this." He hit it all in the phone too. Like, don't crack my phone, my guy. What are you doing? She might. Oh my gosh! So we talked about, PJ Tucker a little bit and him being upset too about what's going on in Houston. He actually posted to his IG about that as well. He posted 2 separate posts. This was the first one. It was just a cap, like a little blue cap. And then this next one, which says, all I ever asked was keep it 8 more than 92 with me. And then 100. First of all, I hate this because when you're going through the stories, at least if you're like me, you probably don't pay that much attention to it. You just kind of tab through it. So I did see this and I tabbed through it a little too fast, and I thought it was some deep cryptic meaning. And so did another user, because that user posted this tweet and he said, you know, basically, what can somebody translate this for me? Like, what does this mean? And then somebody let him know he means that you have to keep it 100 with him, right? So the cap means lie, though, right? We talked about that. We taught Devin that, I think, on one of our first live shows. We taught Devin that the cap means lying. So I don't know if he feels like he's being lied to in Houston or what he thinks, but I know The Athletic did say that he has been irate about his contract situation for the entire year. I didn't mean to giggle, but just being mad for that long is just a little bit funny to me, because now Houston has said that they're not even going to wait. They're going to wait until after the February 6th trade deadline to even negotiate his contract with him. That's infuriating to me. If I've been pissed off this whole year about this, and now you're going to wait till February 6th to talk to me about it, not get it done, but to talk to me about it, that's insulting to me. That means you just want to see how everything plays out, and then you'll get to me. So where's my value with this organization right now? I think that's infuriating. I think it's disrespectful. Britt, what do you think? Do you think that he has a reason to be upset if they're going to wait until after the February 6th trade deadline to negotiate his contract with him?
I get why it feels like that. This is exactly what we were talking about yesterday with like the trades being like afterthoughts and stuff like that. There's so much time that happens from, you know, what technically is supposed to be like the draft time and free agency time to then when usually right before the All-Star weekend where it's the trade deadline, and so much happens in that moment, and who knows what the team's going to look like. So I get why he's that, but also I get the business side of it, and that Houston Rockets team can look totally different between now and that February deadline.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know, because as a Clippers fan, in one season, we literally, by the time season started to the trade deadline, we got rid of Blake, Chris, Austin Rivers, DeAndre Jordan, JJ Redick, our whole squad. I had actually in the Fumble office, this was like a couple years ago, I had a Clippers calendar for whatever year it was 2018 or something like that. I had a calendar, and every single player that was in that 2018 calendar was not on the team anymore. The whole entire calendar had a whole different squad, like, compared to what the team looked like. And literally all of that happened, all of those trades and whatever happened literally within that 3-month span or whatever. And that was after season had already started. So I know very well how much a team could change between now and literally in a couple months before that trade deadline. So I get why they don't want to secure like any kind of deal or figure anything out right now, because especially with what's happening with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, and then having a new head coach and whatever it is, like, who knows what that team is going to look like in the next month or two.
Yeah. And don't forget, the Lakers did the same thing. The Lakers came in one day and was like, your locker's packed up, you're going to New Orleans. So I get it. Yeah. It happens. You know, it's unfortunate, but it happens all the time. But I also understand the frustration of wanting, because it seems like, I don't think you post this unless you want to be there. You know what I mean? And you're where you want to be, and they don't even want to talk to you to keep you there. So I get it. But you know, we've talked about this all the time. Guys, this is a business. I know people play this for their passion, but this is a business, and you're just an asset. So sorry. But with that, over 200 players, this is crazy to me to say. 8 of them are on the Clippers. Britt told us that yesterday. But over 200 players are entering free agency, which starts in 8 days, which is crazy to me. The signings can start happening in 9 days. One of those, of course, is Raptors point guard Fred VanVleet. And I love Fred. I mean, I think we all do. I don't think any of us can deny that he is a pivotal player on that team, and now he should be compensated for it. I think that is just a given. So I am not sure why people are taking offense to him actually saying it, but he did say it. So take a listen to how he said it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never shied about it. I never really talked about it publicly, but I'll share with you guys. I'm trying to get paid, man. I'm not shy about that. I don't have to tell people that I value winning. Like, just look at my story, do your research. I've never been on a losing team in my entire life. That's what I'm about, and that's just what it is. So I won a championship. and now it's time to cash out on 26. I feel like I'm
Yeah. And I agree with him. I think he's definitely, he's peaking, you know what I mean? He's probably at one of the highest points in his career. I think it's smart to get paid. And I think that it's funny to me when fans get so pissed off about players asking for a raise when they're mad going to their job that they haven't had a raise on in like 3 years. It's so weird to me when people get pissed off about that. But this is their job. He should want to be compensated for a job well done. But as you can imagine, Twitter had something to say about it. This first user is all the way mad. He said, translation, I want to get paid and I'm not hungry enough to play my ass off anymore. Nice. I'd never sign a player that talks like this. You'd never sign a player that says that his hunger is proven and now he wants to be compensated for it. This is weird to me. This next user said, let's be real though, the man is 0-3 in the finals. I love him, but it's not hard to be his father. Okay, I like that. Who's your daddy? I get it. But then Doug Smith, you guys know he's a former NBA player. Doug Smith chimed in. He said, so let me see if I've got this straight. Fred VanVleet, supremely confident young man and excellent player, told a podcast he liked to be paid commensurate with his skills by an organization that respects him. This is news. The coming season cannot start soon enough. And then Fred responded with, he says, you can't say it out loud, Doug. God forbid you think highly of yourself. And I think that's it. I'm so confused. Ladies, I want to open it up to the panel. Devin, I'll start with you. Why is it a bad thing? Is this one of those things where, yeah, you can want to get paid, but you don't say it? And why? Why can't I say I want to get paid? Devin?
Well, I don't know, I feel on the fence with this one because I've read a lot of things, especially about women in the workplace, how we need to talk about what we earn and what we're getting paid so that everybody knows what the average is. We know what to ask for when we go into a meeting, when we're asking for a raise. And I actually really, really like that idea, but obviously that's more taboo than it really should be. I think that when you're working as hard as a lot of these NBA athletes are, I think they have every right to talk about money, and we all know what they earn. So I don't know. I guess I feel sort of indifferent about it. I don't really feel like it's right or wrong either way.
Britt, what do you think?
I mean, I feel him. I haven't had a raise in 4 years, so I feel you, my guy. And in a regular situation, like a regular job, like Devin was talking about, you don't really know what people that you're working with or people that have similar jobs to you are actually making. But in his position, he can literally Google and see what every single NBA player is making. So he literally can see and compare his worth to other people. So he knows that he deserves more money and he can see it. His agent has probably said it to him a million times. So it makes sense for him to be vocal about it because all that information is out there and people can literally see exactly what everybody's getting paid in those situations. And he knows hello, there's this other guy. Let's talk about Chandler Parsons, for instance. We haven't seen him even play, and he's been terrible for forever, but he has this $120 million deal. Or John Wall has been getting $40 million a season and hasn't played in 2 years, and his teams sucked even before when he was playing. And I'm sitting over here being on a winning team, haven't had a losing record in X amount of years. I think the last time the Raptors were even didn't make the playoffs was 2013 or something like that. So they've been consistently making it to the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, and he's like, where's my check? So I totally get it, especially because it's so out there. Why not say something about it?
Yeah, I've always struggled with this because I've been the opposite. My dad, he's different. So he used to always tell me, you need to ask everybody. I know every employer I've ever had said, don't discuss your salary. My dad used to tell me that's because they want to discriminate. And if people don't discuss their salaries, then women don't know that they're being paid less than men. Minorities don't know that they're being paid less than. That's why people want you to be silent. So closed mouth don't get fed. I say try to eat and get your money. Say what you got to say. That's what I'm just for I'm for saying it.
I know this has nothing to do with sports, but I remember the show Friends, once they did actually discuss their salaries with each other, they're like, oh, wait, you getting paid? Well, listen, we're all going to not do the show unless we all end up getting paid out of money because we're all doing the same work or whatever. And they all literally made sure every single one of them got $1 million an episode after that. So I think that there's power in that, and that's why your employers don't want you to share that information, because they know, like, if you guys teamed up together, like, hey, listen, let's all get this money together and make sure we're all good, like they did on Friends, then they are having to dig in their pockets to pay everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And that's for the same work. If I'm Fred and I know that I'm an asset, y'all got to pay me a little bit more than you pay, you know what I mean? So I agree with Fred on this. And I'm glad. I did see a lot of fans actually take to Twitter and say that they hope that he stays, but he needs to do what's best for him and his family. So that's always good to see too, when you have that fan support. This next one though is a stat that this is it's not my favorite person. It's just not. I don't dislike him. I know everybody used to say, especially Chris, he used to say that I don't like him. I don't dislike Lonzo Ball. I just don't think he's ever going to live up to that hype. Don't forget, he was talked about as the greatest, rookie of all time. Didn't happen. Didn't pan out that way. But this stat has me tripping a little bit. So Clutch Points posted this, and it says that this is unexpected, but Lonzo Ball made more threes than Devin Booker did this season. Devin Booker made 141. Lonzo Ball made 148. To be fair, I didn't watch Lonzo play that much, so I didn't see him make a whole bunch of threes. I'm not a fan, so I didn't watch him play that much. But when I think about Devin Booker and all that he did, that stat is surprising to me. So I was like, okay, I expected to see, people like CK2K who want to be in that house with the Ball family. I expected to see a lot of that, but nope. This first response is funny to me because it says, this means nothing. The narrative that Booker is a shooter needs to stop. He makes a living in the mid-range area, mid-post, and at the rim. This tweet specifically is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Not that they're not great players. I love to watch them play. But they literally changed the dynamic. Shooters shoot, people. I don't care if you're shooting from outside, inside, wherever. You're supposed to shoot and make the shot. If you are consistently making shots, I'm going to call you a shooter no matter where you shoot from the floor. But we have it in our head that this three-point range is the only place somebody can be called a shooter. If you scoring 50 points a night inside, you fine with me. I hate this narrative, but that's just me. I'm sure y'all disagree. But this next user said, anyone actually realize how Booker has evolved his game and he's just not a three-point shooter anymore? He's going to the rim so much more last season. I like this. Be an all-around shooter. Be able to shoot from everywhere on the floor, not just the three. I get that this is our time now and this is the stat that we love to see, but I love that Devin Booker's an all-around shooter and he's an all-around player, so I am fine with this. I don't know, Britt, Devin, do you guys have any thoughts on this one? Are you surprised that Lonzo Ball has more threes than Devin Booker? I was, especially since he played so much longer. I was like, that alone should have meant that. Right, yeah, I thought so too. But Devin, this next one is right up your alley because I know you're such a fan of TikTok, and I know that you have actually watched Jonathan Mahomes do his little dancing on TikTok, which is horrid, and I just felt like I would take this opportunity to remind you how bad he is at dancing on TikTok. So I want to take a look at this real quick so you can be reminded at how absolutely cringeworthy this is. It's worse without the music. It's so much worse without the music. But it's cringeworthy. But now, hold on. Here's a good thing. Okay. Apparently, he's found something that he is good at now, and I'm going to show you that as well. Look at your boy out here.
Wow.
Getting every single one. Look at your boy.
Look at him.
Look at your boy. Okay.
Nice.
He needs to only do that on TikTok from now on. But I'm for this because the dancing was terrible. I'm with it. But can we not hype him up too much? Because this user said that he is better than 90% of the NBA on TikTok. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. See, Jackson Mahomes is better than 99% of the NBA on Twitter. That's not a thing, because here's the thing. We've talked about this before. None of that was congruent. None of that was just like a one motion. Y'all know that man probably made 100 shots, and those are like the 4 he got. It's TikTok, y'all. But our resident TikToker, isn't this much better than his dancing?
Yes, it is much better than his dancing. So I remember when we first came across his TikTok story about it, and people were so cruel in the comments, but I was trying to be like, You do you. Do your thing. If you want to dance, go ahead and dance. It is cringy, I do have to admit, but I'm so glad that he's kind of going out of his dancing comfort zone and showing us something that's, it's hard to argue that he did a good job with the basketball TikTok, but
Right.
I still, if that guy wants to shake his hips and like do the whoa, then
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, Devin, I see you.
I never said I was a good dancer.
That was great. All right, so dance and play basketball. Devin's here for all of it. I think that's so cute. He's just a kid, so he can do whatever he wants. But the dancing, I'm going to laugh. I'm not going to make any rude comments, but I am going to laugh. This next story, look, when my producer sent this to me, she was like, look at this dope pic. I'm like, this is okay. I mean, okay. So, but it does remind me why there's not a lot of people who look like me who play hockey, because the NHL posted this picture, and it is a beautiful picture. There's no doubt about it. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous picture. I would love to have a house somewhere where this is, but my man is on the ice. Like he ain't never seen a horror movie where he skates out and look how far he is from the shore. This is terrifying to me. There's no way I would be that far from the shore on some ice. But it's just me. This next Twitter user said, just to be there to feel the crisp, cold wind on your cheeks and hear the razor sharp slice on the ice, not to mention that gorgeous view. Right before you fall through the ice. Okay, and so then the next one said, the NHL should play there, plenty of space in time of COVID-19. Okay, but if the NHL does it, then they could make sure that the ice is completely frozen all the way through. I don't know if you guys, maybe it's just me. I'm from Colorado. I have been on lakes where there's ice. I have seen people fall through the ice. So maybe it's just my childhood coming back to bite me, but this is beautifully terrifying to me. I don't know, but I don't like it personally. But I'm going to end off with the kids, of course. Now, I know we had my favorite cutie pie ref earlier. This kid is going to go number 2 for me because he is making sure that even though his sister has some challenges, that she too can be part of the game. I love it. This is so adorable. He is cheering her on the whole time, telling her she can do it. And he makes sure she gets it in there.
Aww. Yay!
Yay! And then he's so excited when she does. This is the best big brother ever. The first time I saw it, I got a little teary-eyed. I'm not gonna lie, not gonna get teary-eyed right now. But I just thought this was the cutest thing in the world. This is just so encouraging. I love it. I love it.
So sweet. I'm teary-eyed.
I got teary-eyed over here. So.
Yeah, I did. First time I saw it, I was like, okay, what is that? The cutest
sweet.
thing. I love it. Because we need to see that nowadays. It's good to see people encouraging and being good to other people. So I love it. That was my second favorite. Actually, that's probably my first, and the little ref is number 2. But before I get out of here, I'm going to...
Now you're making them in an order.
I'm ordering my kids.
Yes.
Yeah, because don't let your parents fool you guys. They tell you they don't have a favorite, but they do. So I'm going to go ahead and be honest with mine and put my kids in the order. All right. Before I get out of here, I'm just going to tell you guys what we not going to do really quick. And it's going to be a fun one because you guys remember that after their week 1 loss, which was to my Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost to us 34-23. And then Bruce Arenas got out there and he said that Tom Brady needed to show more grit and determination, and everybody got on him about criticizing Tom in that way. But after he criticized Tom that way, Tom went out and won 3 in a row before they lost to the Bears, and then they won 3 more before they lost to my Saints again, 38-3, the day before my birthday. Shouts out again. But the problem is the passing. I don't think we're used to seeing Tom Brady not have as much success in the passing game as he is in Tampa Bay. He's just not doing as well in Tampa Bay as he did with the New England Patriots. And especially when he has the best receiver on their team, Mike Evans, is not being targeted as much. So in the last 4 games combined, he was only targeted 17 times. Like I said, he is the best receiver on that team. So I just had to go back in time. So through 9 games last season, with Jameis Winston, he was targeted 89 times and had 54 receptions. That's through 9 games last season. Through 9 games this season, he has been targeted just 52 times and only has 34 receptions. Why isn't the best receiver on the team being targeted more when you have Jameis Winston, who everybody said wasn't good enough because he threw those 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, and now he's third string in New Orleans? How come Tom Brady is not outperforming and not connecting more with Mike Evans when we got a third stringer over in St. Louis or with my Saints who did it before? So after the game with my Saints, Bruce had to talk to the media again, and he had this to say.
Mike was open a bunch in that ball game. He just didn't get targeted. That's all. He was open. Mike was open.
First of all, I love the stuttering because he's stuttering because he's trying not to say Tom Brady just couldn't find him. My boy was over there in the corner wide open half the game. That's what he wanted to say, but he didn't. I think he was just being conscious. He was being mindful not to say Tom Brady didn't find an open Mike Evans. Mike did. He was targeted 6 times in that game. I think he only caught 5 of those, so he did get 6 targets in that game. But if you go back to this time last year with Jameis Winston, he was targeted like 12 to 15 times per game and was getting a ton more catches than he is now. So I don't really know what's going on right here. The first week he did say that Tom Brady wasn't familiar enough with their offense, but we're in week 9 now, and you would expect a veteran who's 20 years into his career can acclimate pretty quickly. So I do want to say this, though. Yes, he was throwing shade at Tom Brady, but more than throwing shade at Tom Brady, I think Bruce was just trying to defend his offensive coordinator, because the question was, and that's the question that got cut out, the question was, why isn't your offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, why isn't he implementing plays and writing plays that will make it easier for Tom Brady to get him the ball? That was the question that was asked. So Bruce is literally saying, like, yeah, no, this isn't an offensive coordinator problem. This is a Tom Brady problem. That's what he was trying to say. So what we're not going to do is pretend that maybe Tom Brady isn't who he thinks he is, and that we are just reacting to Bruce being critical of him because we're not used to hearing people be critical of Tom Brady. We're used to everyone kind of placating to Tom Brady. We're used to the Tuck rule being created because of Tom Brady. We're used to everyone kind of bowing down to Tom Brady, and Bruce is just not here for it because he's not performing at such a higher level than what we saw last season. So if we're talking about receptions to their main receiver, Jameis Winston was better. So now Bruce is just calling it out. But I do think that maybe now Tom is going to do better, because the last time Bruce said something like this, he went on to win the next 3 games. So, Britt, I'm going to come to you again. Is that why every time Bruce says something about Tom Brady, why it's such a big deal and every sports outlet has to talk about it, is because we're not used to hearing people talk bad about Tom Brady? Or does Bruce just not like Tom and he's just going to say what he says?
I feel different, actually. I think it's because we all had this question for the last 15 of his last 20 years in the league. Is it a Tom Brady and Bill Belichick system, and do they both only work well because of the system? Now we're seeing, yes, it is true. Both were creatures of habit. They both literally had to do the same thing. And we all know Tom Brady and Bill Belichick's offense was a very simple one, actually. They didn't have a lot of like glitz and glam behind, their receivers or their tight ends or their running backs. It was very like structured, old school. They ran a small playbook situation and they were great at it. They didn't change a lot of things. He's had some of his receivers and tight ends with him for a really long time. The Patriots are known for even when, they didn't have a lot of seasons where they had even a top 15 to 20 pick at all because they were so good. But they never went for one of these top receivers or whatever the case is. They just kept their squad as is. And it was just those blue collar, middle of the line working receivers and tight ends, and that was where Tom Brady was comfortable, and that's what he knows, and that's the system that they worked in. I think it is just clearly to the point that we are what all our thoughts were this whole time is factual. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady do not work well without each other. It was their system that was beautiful. You spoke about it the other day. We will never see that tandem of a quarterback and a head coach that just perfectly were put on God's green earth to work together and be together. If there were soulmates in the sports world. It is these two people. They were supposed to be together. They worked well together. They knew each other, and their systems worked well together. And we're seeing it. Yes, Tom Brady is still a good quarterback. Nobody's saying he's not a good quarterback because of this situation, but like you're literally seeing what the difference is in what the difference a head coach can make, and what the difference chemistry makes, and all of that kind of stuff. And that's what we're seeing right now. So I think it's not that even Bruce Arians has an issue with Tom Brady, or, you know, we're surprised that Tom Brady isn't the Tom. I think it's literally like, oh, wow, this system with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick was really magic. Like that was something crazy, you know, and we're all seeing it like unfold, obviously, especially seeing with what's happening with the Patriots and stuff like that. So I think it's just more or less that, and we're all realizing like how much and how important a system and a connection and, you know, having the right player in the right place at the right time means for teams.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you know, I've said that time and time again, that combination was flawless. We'll probably never see it again, you know. But at the same time, I do wish they would have split like maybe 5 to 10 years ago, because now I think if they'd have done that then, now we can really say, okay, yes, the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick combination was flawless. Neither of them can survive without the other. But now, at least with Tom, not so much with Bill Belichick. Now it's going to be like, oh, well, yeah, it was not only that system, but now he's 43, he's older, so we don't know. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be that little asterisk by that. But I totally agree. I still think that if Tom Brady was in New England and Bill Belichick and Tom Brady could have put their differences behind them, we're still talking about Tom Brady like he could play another 5 years. You know what I mean? Because that system was built for him. So I totally agree with that. And I think Bruce is just, I don't know. He has no problem throwing that man under the bus and backing it up over him, though. And I personally am here for it. I actually.
Yeah. I mean, he ain't going to lose his job over Tom Brady. That's for sure.
Right. He going to make sure everybody knows, no, this Tom's fault. So that's all I got for what we not going to do. And now it's time. Devin, I know you're probably over there muted. Unmute your mic. Get your hands ready, because I know you like to do the wiki. So, because it is time for Brit's Takes.
Brit's Takes.
All right, guys, we are sticking with football. Y'all know I love my football. And we are going to be talking about another system that didn't really work that well. And I think it all unfolded really personally, I think in 2018 after Bob McNair died. You guys know Bob McNair was the owner of the Houston Texans, and he died. It's almost actually the 2-year anniversary from his death. And really since then, everything has completely went down the drain in Houston. Houston, we have a problem, and a problem again and again. We talked about it earlier in the show with Houston's basketball team, and now we're going to continue it with Houston's football team. We've talked obviously about, the firings of the head coach and GM and happening in, I think it was like week 6 or week 5 that it happened in, which usually is unheard of. Usually coaches at least make it till towards the end of the season or Black Monday to get fired, but nope, he got fired literally in the first quarter of the season. And now we're at a place where what is going on in Houston? They just fired somebody else. The Texans actually fired their VP of Communications, Amy Pollock, because according to them, she is no longer a part of, I mentioned this earlier, the cultural fit. So Adam Schefter actually posted this on Twitter explaining what the situation was, Leo. Texans fired VP of Communications, Amy Pollock, telling her she no longer was a cultural fit, per sources. Pollock was the first and only woman to have full PR responsibilities for an NFL team. She was the winner of the 2017 Razell Award for Best PR Staff. She is widely respected. Okay. First of all, Houston, read the room. Like, we are literally in a moment in a place now where we actually just celebrated this year. I think it was first game of the season. We had a NFL coach on both sides of the ball and an NFL ref all in the same game. And everybody celebrated that. A woman. NFL coach on each side, and then an NFL ref that it was a female as well. And that was history. It was a beautiful moment. And we have been talking about, like getting more female faces in the NFL in these front offices. Y'all had one, and y'all had a great one. There were actually people that decided to comment on this, and everybody was really upset about it. This first tweet here was from DeAndre Hopkins, who is actually with the Arizona Cardinals now, but literally wanted to make sure he shouted out her. First, I'm going to read JJ Watt, because JJ Watt, who is still on the team, actually said something first and said, first and only woman to be head of PR for an NFL team and winner of the Razell Award for Best PR Staff in the NFL. Massive help in my hurricane relief efforts. We've talked about that recently, about how big that was and how much meant for Hurricane Harvey in Houston. Community events and much more. Whoever picks up Amy will be getting one of the absolute best in the business. DeAndre Hopkins responded to that, saying one of the best at her job. He is with another team now, yet still wanted to make sure he shouted her out, because it was honestly very shocking to everybody. And the fact that the Houston Texans said it was a cultural fit. She's the only woman in the business. Like JJ Watt said, first and only woman head of PR in the NFL. So what is the cultural fit? There's another tweet that came out as well, and it's from Peter King, and he wanted to share his situation with her, commenting on Adam Schefter's thing, saying, this is a stunning move. Stunning. Amy is one of the best media relations people I've met in my 36 years covering the NFL. Top 5. 36 years, top 5 PR people. And then I think we have one more as well. And this one actually goes to my point that I said earlier about Bob McNair. The Texans have turned into one of the worst organizations in football since Bob McNair died. Amy was the best. She certainly was too good for what the Texans deserved. Now, can we get an amen to that? Because clearly the Texans, if they were going to let go a woman that, not only just a woman, she was one of the best at what she does in the business. Woman, male, black, white, doesn't matter. She was one of the best to do it. And for you to get rid of her because you don't feel like she culturally fits is like crazy. And to even use that terminology, that literally only brings the arrow to one spot here. And that is, it is because she's a woman, and you guys are trying to have a boys club, and you guys don't want any woman or any women in the room to where you have to silence your little boys' locker room talk or whatever the case is. And it really is just like a disgusting moment yet again from the Houston Texans. Originally, I was like, okay, they're just making bad football decisions by getting rid of DeAndre Hopkins, by having, nobody and drafting nobody to help Deshaun Watson out and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, they're just bad at football. But now you guys are bad at just common sense and getting rid of one of the best people in the business, let alone male or female. There were thousands of more tweets to Adam Schefter's thing. I literally was going down reading so many of them, and not one person had anything bad to say about Amy, but everybody had something bad to say about the Houston Texans. And guess what? Now you don't have a PR person to help with this problem. So best of luck to you, Houston Texans, because maybe what could have gotten you out of this moment of this now horrible rep that you are dissing women and you don't like women and women don't belong in your organization because they don't culturally fit there. Well, now you don't have somebody to spin that around and make it different because you just fired one of the best people that actually could have helped you in this situation. I'm going to go to Devin first on this one. What are your thoughts about the Houston Texans using the excuse of saying it was a cultural fit as the reason why they released her of her duties?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. The fact that so many people are so shocked and stunned by this move shows that it's very out of nowhere, and it must be rooted in some other reasons that they don't really want to say. And I think that it's exactly what you said. There's a boys club, and they don't want to have to make adjustments. They don't want to have to change behaviors or censor themselves and the different inappropriate things they might be saying simply because there's a woman there. So I think that this is really sad and really shocking, and it's a bad look in general. But I do think you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Jackie, I have a very important question to ask you. Very, very important. Are the Houston Texans the new spot for what do you say? Purgatory.
Purgatory?
Are they there?
Mm.
Yes. Did the Texans officially take over
That's
that
a good
spot
question.
from the Cleveland Browns for you?
I mean, I feel like they're definitely on their way because the Cleveland Browns at least try. They try to do the right thing. They fail for whatever reasons, but they do try to bring in the talent, to bring in people that can help their organization. Houston is doing the exact opposite of that. They're getting rid of good people, and I don't understand. I was sitting there listening to this story, and I have to agree with Devin because I've actually been fired from a job under this exact phrase that I no longer fit the culture of that specific position. But it was because from day one, there was things happening in that organization that weren't quite right. And I just wasn't going to sit around and be silent about it. You know what I mean? And so I constantly would bring it up and I would say, hey, you know, this isn't right. This isn't right. And then eventually HR came to me and said, hey, you know, they gave me this huge severance package and said, we're going to let you go because you just don't fit the culture here, which translated to me is like, we're going to keep doing all this wrong stuff. And since you just have something to say about it, you got to go. So I feel like what Devin said, there's something else that happened. Maybe there was something that they wanted her to do that she was like, that's unethical, or maybe she just was too honest about something, or maybe it's exactly what you said. Maybe they were having one of these boys' days where they were saying something that was sexually explicit or was out of line. And she was like, hey, you probably shouldn't say that. You probably shouldn't do that. And now they feel some type of way about it, and they're letting her go. But this definitely wasn't because she was doing her job. You don't win that award if you're not doing your job. And so Houston is just like, we don't care how good you are. They've already showed that to us already. We don't care how good you are at being a wide receiver. We don't care how good you are being PR. You got to go. And right. Now what?
Making us look too good over here. You're making us look too good.
Yeah, you got to go. You got to go. So I think you're right. It might be the new purgatory.
Right. I think it is so crazy that literally the person that would have gotten you out of all of these situations that you're going to now probably have, like you know, whatever these boys talk, I'm sure you guys still have some executive assistants or whoever it is that are female people. And now you're not going to have somebody to like basically get you out of this PR nightmare that I think you guys are walking right into in this moment. So really the reason why we demand, you know, people of color and women and stuff be in those rooms is because we're trying to actually help you from destroying yourselves and being in this all white male room and making these decisions for a country that doesn't look like the room looks. So I think you guys just bit yourself in the butt again. And I wouldn't be surprised.
I hope she got a severance package.
A good one,
at least.
Because I mean, she has a job soon, very soon. She's going to be hired on, so I'm not even worried about her. But like, I think that this sucks for Houston, and we've seen Houston lose their football team, get it back, and I think we're on our way to see them lose a football team again in the next 10 years. There probably won't be Houston Texans. And that is Britt's
agree
today.
All right, you guys, we made it through the show. But we did it. We'll be back again tomorrow for our Friday show at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So subscribe, tap the bell, leave a comment below, share this video with your friends, wash your hands, and wear a mask as usual. We'll see you guys at 11 a.m. sharp tomorrow. Have a great Thursday. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Happy birthday, Russell Westbrook.
Scorpios unite.